After regaining my hearing, I rushed to show off to my arch rival. But I accidentally caught him looking at my photo muttering plaintively, "Darling, when will you finally fall for me?" So, I kept the fact that my hearing had returned a secret. Watching him act, though, his signed words to me were, "Why are you here again?" The words that came out of his mouth were, "Whoa, wifey, you finally came." 01 After regaining my hearing, the first thing I did was go to my arch nemesis, Samuel, to show off. We've been sworn enemies since childhood. During the 3 years I suffered hearing loss from the car accident, he kept hovering around me every single day. He even occasionally argues with me using sign language. Yes, just to quarrel with me, he specifically learned sign language. Samuel went to his own company. When I arrived at the reception desk, didn't he stop me? I've grown accustomed to it, our weekly routine of stirring up trouble at each other's companies. The receptionist smiled and nodded at me. I nodded back and turned toward the elevator. Suddenly, I overheard whispers behind me. "The missus is here to see the boss again. What a sweet couple. Our boss is going to be grinning from ear to ear today." I looked over curiously, and the receptionist immediately stopped gossiping when she noticed my gaze. Mrs. Boss is the boss Samuel, so the missus is Samuel's girlfriend. Samuel has a girlfriend. 02 Before I could think further, the elevator had already reached the top floor. I pushed open the door to Samuel's office. He was the only one inside. Samuel sat on the sofa engrossed in something unknown. Before I could get close, I heard him murmur, "Darling, when will you ever come to like me?" Oh, so it's about missing someone when seeing something that reminds you of them. I leaned in closer, wanting to see which unfortunate beauty had caught Samuel's eye. The person in the photo looked so familiar. Holy crap, why is this me? Looking at my youthful face in the photo, it must have been taken several years ago. Samuel finally noticed my approach. Startled, he quickly flipped the photo face down on the table. He signed to me, "How come you walk without making any sound?" He kept frowning as if disgusted by my arrival. Yet for the first time, I caught the uncontrollable affection in his eyes. Samuel likes me. Suddenly feeling playful, I decided not to tell him my hearing had returned. Watching him act, his sign language clearly said, "Why are you here again?" But the words that came out of his mouth were, "Whoa, darling, you finally came." 03 My hearing was accidentally damaged in adulthood. At the time, I knew there was still a possibility of treatment and recovery, so I didn't learn lip reading. I always thought Samuel was muttering curses at me every day, taking advantage of my deafness. Interesting, I signed back, "Why did you steal my photo?" While signing, I picked up the photo from the table. I don't remember having this photo, judging by the angle. It looks more like a sneaky shot. "Samuel, you little rascal, you're really something." Samuel grew anxious and quickly said, "What do you mean yours? This is mine." He snatched the photo back, but his sign language conveyed, "I'm just making sure I don't forget my rival." Taking the photo, he murmured under his breath, "The photo is mine, and so is the person." For some unknown reason, his blush extended all the way to the tips of his ears. He looked inexplicably innocent. 04 Nearly noon, meeting Samuel's expectant gaze, I proactively signed, "I'm hungry. Surely Mr. Samuel wouldn't mind treating me to a meal." Samuel pursed his lips, signing with feigned resentment, "Has Miss Ross gone bankrupt, needing to mooch meals off others?" If it weren't for the overly loud "I do" that came from his mouth, I might have actually believed him. I pretended to leave. "Fine, don't treat me then." Just as I expected, the moment I reached the door, Samuel came chasing after me with his coat. He grabbed my sleeve and gestured, "I'm not so down on my luck that I can't afford one meal. Let us go, my little princess." I withdrew my sleeve. Samuel froze for a full second, his eyes reddening like an abandoned puppy. "This idiot," I sighed, helplessly gesturing. "I left in a hurry without my glasses, can't see clearly, need to hold on to you." Then I reached out and grasped his sleeve again. This time, Samuel's reaction took a full 3 minutes. He looked at me, then at my hand holding his. Struggling to suppress a smile at the corners of his mouth, he pretended to be calm and gestured to me, "You still need someone to hold your hand when going out that's so like you." 05 On the way out of the company, I heard countless people greeting me. I heard every employee call me madam, yet I had to pretend I knew nothing. It turns out that every time they met, what they said wasn't hello. I figured it was Samuel's doing. How childish. I deliberately chose the most expensive Western restaurant in the city center. Samuel had money, and he wouldn't refuse. The interior ambience was excellent, with floor-to-ceiling windows in the dining area, offering a panoramic view of half of City A. The waitress greeted us warmly, "Are you two a couple? We currently have a promotion where couples dining together enjoy a 12% discount." I was about to shake my head when Samuel immediately responded, "Yes, my wife prefers quiet. Could you arrange a more secluded table for us?" "Certainly, sir." After the waitress left, I pretended not to know anything and asked him, "What did she just say to you?" Samuel gestured to me, "She thinks I'm too handsome and wants to give us a discount," shamelessly boastful. 06 In the middle of eating, a familiar and loathsome voice suddenly came from behind. "Rose, I didn't turn around." The woman walked right up to me and touched my arm. "Oh, I forgot you're deaf now." I looked up to meet Josephine's overdone plastic surgery face, the daughter of my father's mistress turned stepmother. After driving my mother to her death and securing her position, that mistress of my father's became even more brazen. Her daughter was the same, always seizing every opportunity to put me down. I couldn't be bothered to respond and kept eating with my head down, but Josephine wouldn't let it go. Her male companion beside her asked, "Sweetheart, who is this?" "You're just the worthless leftover from my father's dead first wife." Her male companion looked shocked. "Aren't you afraid she'll get angry hearing you say that?" Relax, Josephine continued nonchalantly. Her ears don't work. She s deaf now, as if trash like her could compete with me for the inheritance. Inheritance, how laughably stupid she was. She, and her mother probably still don't know my scumbag father never had any company shares to begin with. My grandfather knew exactly what kind of man his son was. He transferred all the company shares to me when I turned 18. How could he possibly hand over the business he'd worked his entire life to build to some mistress and her family? 07 I had no intention of paying attention to Josephine's tantrum. Anyway, I was pretending not to hear. But the next second Josephine gasped. It turned out Samuel had accidentally knocked over the hot water cup on the table, spilling it all over Josephine's hand. Her hand turned red instantly. Samuel, sorry, I did it on purpose, don't mind it. TSK, not on purpose, but wait a second. I looked at Samuel, who was as brazen as ever. The word restraint had never appeared in his dictionary. Typical of him, Josephine was seething with anger, but had nowhere to vent it. She knew better than to provoke Samuel. She turned to leave, but Samuel blocked her path again. Just because you don't mind doesn't mean I don't apologize to Rose. Josephine could only whisper to me, I'm sorry. Yet Samuel still stood blocking the way. Is this how sincere your apology is? If you don't know how to sign I'm sorry, can't you learn it now? Did you forget your phone or your brain? I struggled to suppress my smile, pretending not to hear was so hard I nearly buried my face in the dinner plate. Josephine gritted her teeth. Samuel, don't go too far. Oh, actually I could go even further. Why don't you go find whichever father you're on now to back you up? Josephine looked as if she'd eaten something vile, her face dark with displeasure. After 10 minutes of learning sign language, I saw her gesture, I'm sorry. 08 After Josephine and the others left, I almost opened my mouth to speak before remembering I was pretending to be deaf. I quickly switched to sign language. Samuel, thank you. You're welcome. I just can't stand seeing a mistress's daughter act so arrogantly. I kept my head down and continued eating. Then I heard him say, I don't want a simple thank you. I want you to kiss me. I spat out my wine in shock. Samuel hurriedly handed me a tissue. I could only explain I choked by accident. My face flushed uncontrollably. Idiot, these words weren't signed. I abruptly looked up at him. He gestured in sign language, confused. What's wrong? I shook my head. Pretending to be deaf in front of Samuel was really difficult. This guy was two-faced. Who could have imagined? He signed, Rose, have you lost your mind? Can't you see the problems with this godforsaken project? Then he took the proposal from my hands. I never intended to win this project anyway. It was clearly a trap from the start. I may be deaf, but I'm not blind. Leaning against the opposite end of the sofa, he looked thoroughly provocative. If I couldn't hear him say, what kind of trash project is worth my wife wasting her time on? Darling, I'll give you 200 million. Just look at me, will you? I really wanted to say okay. You know, even though everyone has their own aspirations, after all, it was 200 million. Samuel frowned and gestured again. Why are you staring at me? What evil idea are you plotting now? I hadn't noticed before, but this guy is ridiculously handsome. I've always known Samuel was good looking. Otherwise, when we first met, as kids, I wouldn't have mistaken him for a pretty little girl and planted a big kiss on him. The feud between the two of them was thus set in stone. But contrary to what I'd imagined, Samuel didn't seem to hate me because of that kiss. I blinked and signed to him, Samuel, you're so handsome. Teasing Samuel was, as always, endlessly amusing. He visibly froze for a second, his eyes widening. Snapping back to reality, he rapidly signed, you're out of your damn mind. His handsome face flushed, visibly red. Muttering under his breath, damn it, I want to kiss you. I quietly moved a little further away from him. Sometimes I really worry about Samuel's mental state. Could he be developing schizophrenia? If he does develop schizophrenia, would he still be able to give me his 200 million? 11 When I came home in the evening, my father's teacup came flying at me the moment I stepped through the door. The scalding tea soaked my shoes. How dare you show your face here? A glance at Josephine sobbing her heart out beside him, and my stepmother glaring at me with resentment quickly made me understand what was going on. But I paid no heed and turned to go upstairs. After all, I couldn't hear now. Yet Josephine grabbed my arm and pulled me back down. She used such force that I nearly tumbled down the stairs. But the few people present paid no attention to this matter, all adopting an accusatory stance. My father took out his phone and began typing on it. Helping outsiders bully your sister, is this how I raised you? Outsiders, Samuel too afraid to confront Samuel, so they vent all their anger on me. What a pathetic trio of cowards. 12 Seeing me distracted, my stepmother said to my father, oh dear, don't blame Rose. She definitely didn't mean it. How could she possibly side with outsiders? Although she has always had issues with us, she certainly wouldn't help strangers. I really wished I could remain deaf, so I wouldn't have to listen to her grating voice. She pointing fingers that I rolled my eyes and typed on my phone to show my father. I don't know what you're talking about. I ran into Josephine at noon today and she apologized and left shortly after. I have no idea what's wrong with her. That's exactly how it happened. I didn't say a single word. Josephine cried even harder. I know it's all my fault. That's why everyone can bully me, sister. I accept that you can't stand me, but how could you let Samuel humiliate me like that? She certainly didn't have this attitude when she started the fight at noon. Turtle farts can't hear it, one hear it. I continued typing, Dad, I can't hear, and I don't know what Josephine and Samuel said at noon either. For a moment he wavered. Since I couldn't hear, it was hard for me to pick a fight. Even a fool could see the obvious. He asked Josephine, did you do something to upset Mr. Samuel? Our Josephine is so well behaved and obedient, someone must be taking advantage of her kindness, her stepmother hastily retorted. Josephine also wailed tearfully, I don't want to live anymore, I might as well jump off a building and end it all. Threatening suicide whenever she ran out of arguments, never actually went through with it though. 13 But this trick worked wonders on my father. Seeing his beloved wife and daughter crying their hearts out, he couldn't care less about the truth, made me apologize. The words on my phone screen burned my eyes. He told me no matter whose fault it is, Rose, you apologize to Josephine. Although I did experience similar situations countless times since childhood, I still stared blankly at the man who was biologically my father, feeling as if my heart had been punched. My fists clenched and unclenched. There was no way I would apologize to Josephine. If you don't apologize, don't blame me for disowning you as my daughter. Perfect, that's exactly what I wanted. I turned and headed upstairs. My father's authority had been challenged. Enraged, he grabbed the nearby thermos and hurled it at me. I dodged sideways, but the spilled boiling water still scalded my arm. 14 Back in my room, I locked the door and made sure they wouldn't come in to bother me. Then I skillfully found the first aid kit and treated my wounds. Just as I finished bandaging and was about to tidy up for bed, Samuel's video call came through. The moment I answered, he began gesturing in sign language. Nothing much, just making sure you're still alive. Such calls came every night without fail. By day, they were fierce rivals in the business arena. At night, they'd return home and argue through sign language over the phone. He gestured again. Why are your eyes red? It's nothing, something else wrong with you. He frowned and signed again. Did someone bully you? He was just being a jerk and said it offhandedly, never expecting to actually guess right. I could no longer hold back my tears. Curling up on the bed, I cried bitterly. After I finished crying and struggled to control my emotions, Samuel had already hung up the video call. A pang of disappointment welled up in my heart. Just as I was about to go to bed, I suddenly heard someone knocking on my window. I opened the window, and under the moonlight, Samuel was crouched on my windowsill. This was the 3rd floor. It was clear he had put in a great effort to climb up. His clothes and face were covered in dirt, looking both a little pathetic and a little comical. With both hands occupied and unable to sign, he could only gaze at me with a pitiful expression. I reached out and pulled him up. What are you doing here? Samuel didn't even glance at my sign language, directly grabbing my arm. Who did this? Who else could it be but the hot-tempered old man of this household? It's your father again, I isn't it, that bastard going for the kill against his own daughter. After cursing my father, he pointed at me. Don't you know how to fight back or dodge? I shrugged helplessly. I tried to dodge, didn't work. I tried my best to keep my expression light. Perhaps, subconsciously, I still didn't want to show weakness in front of Samuel. He was after all my greatest rival. Yet the next second, he pulled me straight into his embrace. His solid chest made me momentarily breathless. My heartbeat completely lost its rhythm. Soon I heard Samuel say, why do you always get hurt? It's all my fault for not protecting you well enough. The tears I had suppressed for so long finally broke through like a dam. 16 Samuel quickly let go of me. He frantically gestured, don't cry, if you don't want a hug, then we want to hug. He thought my tears meant I was disgusted by him. To compensate, he forced a casual shrug. I just read online that hugs can heal the heart. You know me, I've always been kind since childhood, I mean it. Yet, he didn't dare meet my eyes, even signing a lie. Since when was he ever this full of himself? The thought made me laugh through my tears. Samuel signed, crying and laughing, are you losing it? But what he actually said was, my wife looks prettier when she smiles. I grasped his fidgeting hand, trembling with nervousness. As I drew closer, I could clearly feel the stiffness in his body. Before he could react, I rose on tiptoe and pressed my lips to his thin ones. Just as easy to kiss as when we were children. This kissing position wasn't very comfortable, so I barely tasted his lips before trying to pull away immediately. The next second, Samuel, finally reacting, wrapped his arm around my waist and deepened the kiss with a tilt of his head. Only when I was gasping for breath did he finally release me. Yet his face still held lingering desire. Samuel blushed so easily. He gestured, Rose, you're such a rogue. Like a defiled, innocent young man. If I hadn't heard him say, my wife kisses so well. My wife kissed me, so she must take responsibility, right? We'll get married tomorrow, you'll take responsibility, right? People don't just kiss someone they don't like for no reason, do they? I found it too noisy and feared I couldn't control my expression, so I simply turned away from him. Secretly, the corners of my mouth were utterly uncontrollable. 17 Unexpectedly, Samuel misunderstood, thinking I didn't want to take responsibility. He grew anxious and chattered even more intensely. Don't tell me you kissed me just to improve your kissing skills. I want to accept that excuse. You have to take responsibility for me. Honey, I'm really easy to keep. Can I poison him mute for a while? My newly recovered ears are about to grow calluses. When I finally adjusted my expression and turned to look at him, he had already been silent for a long time. Because my father's affair drove my mother to her death, I never believed in that bullshit called love and swore I'd never fall in love in this lifetime. But now meeting Samuel's gaze, I inexplicably felt that a long-planned romance might not be so bad after all. Yet before I could open my mouth to explain everything clearly, Samuel had already gestured. First, don't say it, I understand. I'm just your practice dummy. Practice dummy? I didn't get it. He continued, signing, don't worry, I know the rules of the game. I don't need you to take responsibility. His sign language was full of righteous indignation, but secretly, his eyes reddened, tears welling up in them. I really don't know how he managed to imagine so much in such a short time. Do I look like the kind of person who would casually kiss someone? I'm such an upright person. I don't know how to coax people or show weakness either. So I gestured to him, then according to the rules of the world, I don't need you anymore, you can leave. Samuel turned around, I heard him crying. 18 I regretted it as soon as Samuel left. This damn hand signed stubbornly just like my mouth. It's not that I couldn't have coaxed him, we've just been competing for first place since childhood. Tit for tat, never willing to yield an inch. Should I call Samuel now and explain everything? But I just can't bring myself to swallow my pride. In the end I had no choice but to turn to my best friend Clara, who was abroad. As soon as the video call connected she immediately asked, "Your hearing has returned." "Yes, it's back." "Wait, how did you know?" "When you couldn't speak due to hearing loss, your eyes had this clarity untouched by foul language." She knew me well. Besides, I remember the doctors always said your deafness was temporary, and you'd definitely recover. The first rule with illness is to stay calm. So that's how it was. I was about to respond when she added, "That Samuel guy, when he found out about your hearing loss, he was ready to swap his own ears with you, nearly caused a scene at the hospital. Then he tried to beat up the driver, who knocked you over. Couldn't he be stopped no matter what?" "Samuel, you mean all this was done for me by Samuel?" Clara looked surprised. "You didn't know?" "I had no idea. I only remember walking down the street when suddenly an out-of-control car hit me. Then I was unconscious for a day. When I woke up, I saw Samuel sitting by my bed gesturing something. But I had just lost my hearing and hadn't learned sign language yet, so I couldn't understand what he was gesturing at all. I thought he was here to gloat and laugh at my misfortune." You two really hated each other after the breakup." "We've never been together before." I looked up at the sky and let out a long sigh. "We could have been together tonight. I just missed that chance." "You were never together. I always thought you two were ex-lovers who turned love into hate. I assumed you dumped Samuel. He failed to win you back, and that's why he only dares to call you wife in private. So why have you been rivals for so many years?" I fell silent. Of course, I saw Samuel as a rival because he was exceptional. As for why I'm so obsessed with winning and being first, some rather unpleasant memories surfaced. 19 My father had an affair when I was 3 years old and had another child with his mistress. He started leaving early and returning late, even staying away from home for long periods. When he did come home, he wouldn't even glance at my mother. My mother couldn't bear the betrayal of her loved one. She tried every trick to force my father back into the family. Unfortunately, none worked. Then she turned her gaze toward me. After all, I was my father's own daughter. No matter what, he wouldn't abandon me. At that time, my father still retained a shred of conscience. So to lure my father back, I kept getting mysteriously injured. Today I got scalded by boiling water. Tomorrow I'll tumble down the stairs. Looking back, now it's a miracle I've survived under their care for so long. When such tricks are used too often, they lose their effect. When I grew a little older, my mother taught me that I must always strive to be number one. Only by winning first place would my father come back to love me. No one would love a child who failed. I was brainwashed by these words until I was 10. On my 10th birthday, it was also my parents' anniversary of meeting each other. I held my perfect score test paper and the Olympiad math competition trophy. My mother wore delicate makeup and a beautiful little dress. The two of us, one big and one small, waited by the dining table, waiting for someone who would never come back. It was nearly midnight, and this most important day would soon be over. My mother finally got through to him on the phone, but the voice that answered was a woman's. I didn't hear what the woman said. After hanging up, my mother sat motionless for a long time, her emotions slowly crumbling. She told me to go to sleep, then climbed to the rooftop alone and jumped off without a moment's hesitation. My mother was gone at 20. I had already grown accustomed to fighting for first place, especially when competing against Samuel. All these years of companionship, we were always well-matched opponents. My thoughts returned to the present, and I explained the recent dramatic events to Clara. What should I do now? I asked. Go and explain everything to Samuel. I hesitated slightly. Wouldn't that be too impulsive? You're just one step away from making this happen. Clara adjusted her glasses. Listen to me. Leave that unyielding, noble head of yours in my care for a while. Go explain things to Samuel, otherwise you'll regret it. I thought she was right. But before I could go find Samuel, he came knocking at my door first. My company was bustling with business all day, and I didn't have a spare moment to look for Samuel. By the time everything wrapped up, it was already evening. Just as I stepped out of the office, I received a message from Samuel. Meet at the bar. Whoever doesn't show is a coward. I laughed in exasperation. Samuel, is this how you treat your own wife? But there's no denying that reverse psychology works particularly well on me. 20 minutes later, I appeared at the entrance of the bar. Even if not for pride, I fight for dignity. At 21, I spotted Samuel at first glance sitting in the central position among a group in the corner, flamboyant and dazzling. I was about to step forward to greet them when I heard one of them say Samuel had a fight with the missus. Samuel kept opening and closing his phone, stubbornly staring at the same chat interface, without saying a word. Another chimed in, honestly, someone as outstanding as Samuel could have any woman he wants. Shut up, Samuel snapped irritably. He looked up and met my gaze. He quickly stood and walked over. The man who had been full of hostility moments ago now had nothing but tenderness in his eyes. He signed to me, why did you come? The bar was noisy with sounds. I heard him call me wife several times. Samuel suddenly pretended to be drunk. He pulled me into his arms, his tone resentful. You finally decided to show up. Why didn't you wait until I died to come collect my corpse? Perfect timing. With me dead, you'll have one less competitor, right? You must be overjoyed. Ross, you have no conscience. Ross, even if I die, I'll haunt you as a ghost. He took advantage of my deafness to rant endlessly, so noisy. 22, I took Samuel out of the bar. Ignoring his struggles, I shoved him into the back seat and drove him to my place. After coming of age, I bought my own house outside. Occasionally returning to my father's place was only to pick up things. Samuel sat quietly in a corner of the sofa. Even drunk, he still remembered how to sign. He asked me, "Why did you bring me to your home, Rose? Are you plotting something against me?" After gesturing, he crossed his arms with a defiant expression as if ready to die rather than yield. Frowning, I straddled his lap. This time, even his neck turned red. He frantically gestured, "Get off." I no longer hide the truth about my regained hearing. Leaning close to his ear, I whispered, "I can hear now, you can speak directly to me." "I heard everything," Samuel exploded. "You can hear. When did your hearing come back?" "Oh, probably around the time you were calling me wife while looking at my photo." "You misheard. He dare not look at me. I clearly called you old thief." "But Samuel, I quite liked it when you called me wife." I blinked at him. No sooner had the words left my mouth than Samuel could no longer restrain himself. He cupped my head and kissed me. Just as I was losing myself in it, Samuel pushed me away. Don't kiss me, you wouldn't take responsibility for me." Anyway, her voice was full of grievance. 23, I never said I wouldn't take responsibility. I'm not that kind of irresponsible person. "Samuel, I kind of like you too." Samuel responded with a long silence. I watched the changes in his expression. Was he scared, stiff? The next second the hand on my waist suddenly tightened. Samuel's voice was muffled. Could you write me an IOU?" "What did you say?" "Put it in writing, proof that you'll take responsibility." I gave and wrote it, signed it, pressed my fingerprint. I tossed the written pledge at him. "Believe me now." He nodded as if just realizing. Whoa, wife. So, we were secretly in love with each other all along. Not exactly. I really only saw him as a rival back then, and only later did I realize my own feelings. "Samuel, if you like me, why didn't you ever say anything?" And now he's being all shy about it. What a man with no mouth. Meeting my gaze, his eyes were filled with deep resentment. "Think carefully, didn't I say it? In our sophomore year, I confessed to you, and you accused me of having ulterior motives, saying I was disturbing your focus the night before the competition. Come to think of it, that did happen." He continued his accusation. "I wrote you love letters, and you thought I was showing off my literary skills." The more he spoke, the guiltier I felt. At the time, I thought it was some kind of love letter writing contest, so I stayed up all night drafting 18 of them. 24, I'm fortunate to be your rival, but winning isn't everything to me. It's just that during award ceremonies, first and second place stand side by side, Rose. I just wanted to stand next to you. As he spoke, his hand wandered to an inappropriate place. After I stopped him, he whispered hoarsely in my ear, "Darling, shall we have a little competition?" "What kind of competition?" I asked, not quite catching his meaning. Samuel leaned in closer. "Let us race against time. This time, Samuel won completely." 25, I temporarily kept my hearing recovery a secret from the outside world. People at the company only knew I was dating the CEO of a rival firm, appearing together everywhere, every day. Samuel showed up at our company so often it was almost like he was a regular employee. Nathan, the special assistant, gave me a thumbs up. "Sis, I get it, you're using the honey trap strategy." Honey trap? He is still too naive. A real honey trap is when Samuel locks the office door. The moment he steps in, before I could react, he had me pinned against the wall. "Samuel, what are you doing? This is the office." I'd lose all face if someone saw us. Yet he showed no trace of embarrassment, guiding my hand beneath his clothes. The tangible reality of those 8-pack abs left me dazed, noticing my fascination. A triumphant gleam flashed through his eyes. As I looked up at him, he pulled me, sending me tumbling straight into his embrace. He buried his head against my shoulder, his tall frame nearly blocking all my light. His voice carried a hint of grievance. "Wife, it hurts here." He pointed to his own chest. I matched his cheesy pickup line, "Half an hour apart, and you already miss me so much it hurts." "No," he shook his head and continued, "You bit too hard last night." 26, stop talking. I swiftly covered his mouth, preventing myself from hearing any more outrageous words. Samuel refused to let go, his deceptively innocent face biting down on my hand, his eyes smoldering with ambiguous desire. I quickly withdrew my hand. "I'll go buy the ointment for you right away." "What identity are you using to buy me medicine now, wife?" "I think the pain made me lose my memory." "Who did you say you were to me again?" His towering frame held me firmly in place. He wouldn't budge an inch, insisting I blushingly say the words girlfriend status. Samuel, satisfied with the answer, finally released me. "All right, I'll stop teasing you." Samuel resumed his serious demeanor. "The car accident records you asked me to investigate." 27, that car accident 3 years ago left me deaf. I always suspected it wasn't an accident. After secretly regaining my hearing, I returned to my father's house one more time. The first thing I heard was Josephine's furious voice. "How dare that bitch Rose compete with me for the family fortune? I'm father's favorite daughter." The stepmother said, "The old man is being foolish. Rose is just a girl. If he leaves all the family property to her, it'd eventually fall into outsiders' hands." "Oh, so you found out that my grandfather didn't leave them a single share of his equity?" I was just about to continue down the stairs when suddenly I heard a familiar voice again. "No matter what, she is still my daughter. However things stand, she has to listen to her old man." My father was there too. The three of them, thinking I couldn't hear, were brazenly plotting out loud. I stood silently at the corner of the stairs, watching their ugly faces. The stepmother said, "What if she doesn't listen to you, Josephine, and I end up homeless in the future?" With just one glance from her, Josephine burst into tears. "Daddy, I don't want to end up on the streets. I'd rather die than face that." She wouldn't dare. Though his words lacked conviction, he'd long lost control over me these past few years. I hold absolute company shares with unquestionable authority. Just days ago, I used the pretext of letting him enjoy retirement to make him relinquish his position. No one dared oppose it. After a moment's contemplation, a sinister glint crossed his 28-year-old face. No matter, when a daughter dies, shouldn't her father have inheritance rights? You mean like 3 years ago? My stepmother's words sent a chill down my spine. I watched as my father nodded in agreement. Accidents can happen once, and they can happen again. The most terrifying part is that they were never accidents at all. That day on the empty road, the out-of-control car came charging straight at me. I had no time to dodge, and while I was unconscious, my father and the other signed a letter of forgiveness on my behalf. The drunk driver only paid a few tens of thousands in compensation and walked away free of responsibility after regaining consciousness. I wanted to investigate the incident, but with my hearing impaired, every action became inconvenient. The driver also completely vanished without a trace. I once suspected my stepmother and her family were behind it. I even suspected my father might be shielding them. Looking back now, I was terribly mistaken. Josephine and her mother are nothing but parasites who only know how to eat, drink, party, shop for bags. How could they have orchestrated such an elaborate scheme? Turns out my father was the mastermind all along. 29. I asked Samuel to help investigate the details of that car accident. Looking at the thick stack of documents in my hand, I let out a long sigh. It's all about this driver's connections. Samuel said the driver who hit you is named Arthur, 41 years old, from H City, currently farming at home. They say he's lazy and gluttonous, but luxury cars always come looking for him. He's now in the person's photo. I could tell this person looked somewhat familiar. He dropped out of middle school but dated a very pretty girlfriend. He supported her education only for her to dump him after getting into university. Because he was poor, she went and became some rich man's mistress. We exchanged glances. He nodded. Right, it's your stepmother Louise. I looked at the date on the documents. It just happened to coincide with Josephine's birth. But no one can be certain whether she was conceived after the breakup or before. Samuel noticed my confusion. I've already had someone compare Arthur and Josephine's DNA. He pulled out a test report from that stack of documents, confirmed paternity. How laughable. My father would be furious if he knew he'd been raising another man's daughter. Serves him right. Arthur is indeed a money-grubbing scoundrel, but this makes our investigation easier. Samuel only had to offer a little money before he spilled the entire plan from back then. The stepmother paid him $1 million to hit someone with his car. At first, he didn't want to commit such an illegal act, but his stepmother brought out Josephine, claiming she was his biological daughter. He still harbored some lingering affection for women. Now learning she had borne him a child made it impossible to refuse. Except for the $1 million, he added one more condition: Josephine must visit him, her biological father, every month. 30. After obtaining the recorded video evidence, Samuel asked me, "Are we going to the police station now?" No, I shook my head. 3 years ago, it was intentional harm, but since my life wasn't in danger, those villains would only serve a few years in prison before being released. That punishment was too light. They want history to repeat itself, don't they? Then let us make it happen again. You've been infuriatingly calm since childhood. True, probably no one else could stand here so calmly analyzing the situation after learning their own father wants them dead. I shrugged. It's not surprising they do these things. It obvious. Samuel didn't respond, just held my hand tightly and is studying me. 31. My father, acting out of character, began showering me with excessive concern and affection. I pretended to be moved by his warmth, playing along in this emotional charade. For my 27th birthday gift, he presented me with a car ostensibly to travel 10,000 miles. Oh, but it was a luxury vehicle with faulty brake pads. With this extravagant car, I flaunted it daily in front of Josephine. Seeing her dark, displeased expression, I realized my father hadn't shared his plans with Josephine. It was a beautiful sunny day when I couldn't find my car keys since the vehicle was valuable and had never been driven before Samuel, and I decided to report it to the police. At the police station, the officer carefully took down my statement. Just as we were talking, another policeman rushed in hurriedly. There's been a car accident on Yonghua Road. A middle-aged woman was killed. The driver fled the scene. The officer brought over photos from the scene. The policeman, taking our report, visibly froze, then looked at us. Are you certain the car you lost has license plate number? I shook my head. It's the car key. Missing the car should still be in my garage, but I'm worried it might have been stolen by a thief, so I came to file a report. Both your car and car keys have been found. We arrived at the car accident scene. Police tape had already been set up, and the ambulance had just driven away. I heard the victim was a well-dressed, middle-aged woman who died instantly at the scene. Preliminary investigation suggests the accident was caused by failed brake pads. How could my car's brake pads fail? This is a brand new car my father just bought me last month. Officer, this is a matter of public safety. You can't let the manufacturer get away with this. 32. I took the police to my father to get the vehicle purchase invoice. As soon as I pushed the door open, the metallic scent of blood assaulted my senses. My father still hadn't put down the fruit knife in his hand. Lying on the ground was Josephine, covered in blood, the very person responsible for the car accident. Josephine knew she had hit someone and rushed home in a panic, begging my father for help. In her frantic state, she never realized the person she had struck was her own mother. Unfortunately, just a few hours earlier, I had sent that paternity test report to my father. He was already furious. By the time we arrived, we witnessed the most gruesome scene. The police immediately tense. Drop your weapon. Suddenly, I overheard whispers behind me. I leaned back with emotion. Samuel, I'm so scared. When I woke in the hospital, 2 days had already passed. There was nothing seriously wrong with me, just exhaustion compounded by the shock which had plunged me into unconsciousness. I heard Josephine had lost too much blood and couldn't be saved. My father finally confessed the deliberate tampering with the brake pads to cause murder, and Josephine's killing. He did it. All this is enough to sentence him to death. Everything fell into place. Samuel and I remained rivals, but also the best of lovers. On New Year's Eve, he proposed to me beneath a sky full of fireworks. Following protocol, I should have pretended to hesitate before saying yes. But Samuel simply slid the ring onto my finger and produced a document. You can't back out now. Here's the written proof. Alright, I'll take responsibility.